go.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, August 31st workshops, a meeting of the Verona Borough Council. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, before we go to roll call, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the 12 Marines, men and women, and the one Navy corpsman that was killed this past week. Okay, Dr. Carpenter.
Present.
Mr. Matlin.
Present.
Ms. Loelba.
Present.
Ms. Redzak Showalter.
Present.
Mr. Venza.
Present.
Mr. Suchovich.
Present.
Mr. Warren.
Present.
Mayor Recupero, I'm here.
And
Present.
and Mr. Alexander.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Alexander. Not Mr. Warren. Present.
Okay, so for this evening, we're gonna start the meeting off with Mr. Aaron Martin. And just FYI for everybody on council, I copied some of the stuff for to look at when Mr. Martin is speaking.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the council tonight, and even more so for doing it virtually. I think my route to Verona was prone to flooding, so I appreciate doing this from home. My name is Aaron Martin. I'm one of the proprietors of Acclamation Brewing. Again, I appreciate the response that I've gotten to the proposal that we set forth already, which is to begin a traffic study or look at proposed on-street parking on Wildwood Avenue in the 500 block below 2nd Street. If you're not familiar with Acclamation Brewing, just a quick bit of history. We have been a leaseholder in the Pittsburgh Pickle Company factory at 555 Wildwood for the past 3 years. We opened to the public last year in July. We're a small operation, but I dare say an important business. Our customers, although we do like to think of ourselves as a neighborhood tap room and pub, our customers really do come from all over Pittsburgh, thousands of visitors, many of which are first-time visitors to Verona. So we're very proud to be in Verona. We are looking forward to a long life of business and bringing commerce to the borough, which is why we're bringing this proposal to you today. So again, I'm not going to go over all of the points that were made in my initial email and the even more robust amount of detail that was provided by the LTAP engineer that Councilwoman Redzak Showalter connected us with, Patrick. But I do want to share some anecdotal evidence for why we're asking for this provision for on-street parking. So after a year of looking out the window at the traffic on Wildwood Avenue, I can tell you, and probably you know this from experience, that Wildwood is really the Wild West. It's a speed zone for sure. People fly up and down. If there were ever lines on the street, they have long since disappeared. The roadway itself is far, far overdue for, I think, resurfacing and adding some safety provisions. So hopefully that work is underway. I understand from, again, Councilwoman Redzak Showalter that the conversations about Wildwood have begun already. So I'm hoping this is a timely conversation to add to the mix something with regards to on-street parking, safety signage, perhaps a crosswalk. I know that this is probably a long process, but I can tell you again, the owners of Acclamation Brewing are customers, would certainly be supportive, as would our business neighbors. I spoke with Eric Diani in particular, the proprietor of Verona Village Inn for the last 38 years. He's been dealing with this issue longer than anybody. He wishes he could be here this evening, but he does send his support tonight. Again, I've spoken with a number of other customers and patrons of the business who would be prepared to vocalize their support of the proposal. And I'd be happy to take any questions as well, or outline any of the detail that I put forth in my email originally, which I hope you all had the chance to review.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Does anybody have any questions for him at this time? No. So yes, as you know, our engineer was able to briefly look at your request before he left on vacation, and we got Patrick's input. So I think over the ensuing weeks that people will be looking at this and figuring things out. So thank you for your effort and your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next up is Vince Flota. And, please state your name and address. And could you turn the mic on, please?
Vince Flota, 323 Penn Street, also Vice President of Verona Parks and Recreation Board. I'm here to give a wrap up on 2021's Battle in the Borough Wrestling event. That happened Saturday, August 21st. We sold 233 tickets for a grand total ticket sales of $2,330. Chris has that to give the Borough Secretary for deposit. I also have $100 raised in raffles for the Verona Community Group, $100 raised for Parks and Rec Sea Green Native Wildflower Project, and $150 for raised for Lower Valley Emergency Medical Services. It was a great event, and the community seemed to love it. We had upwards of 300 people there, including volunteers and performers, band members, everything. I got a lot of good feedback afterwards. There are two issues that I do want to bring up for next year. Prior to the event, for 3 weeks, the grass was not cut at Crips, and then it was cut the day before the event. If anybody's been watching the news lately, down as close as the south side, there are West Nile virus outbreaks happening because of mosquitoes. When we have a big town event like this, you cannot go 3 weeks without cutting the grass and then cut the grass the day before an event where we're going to have over 300 people in a grassy area. That's going to draw mosquitoes, it's going to draw bugs, and the event goes on well into the night where there's lights. So next year, can we please make sure to keep the grass trimmed in a timely manner leading up to this event for safety issues, and it looks better. So, and another issue I have is our world is very divided at the moment, and there are things dividing us every day, as you can see, just in this room alone. And I'm sure it's going to get talked about later on in this meeting. When the borough especially holds an event like this, it unifies the community. It is of utmost importance that the elected leaders of our town attend this event.
Yes.
Aside from Janet, who showed up early to set up, there were 2 people sitting in front of me that showed up for this event. And that was Trish all day to sell tickets, and Nancy came very late. Craig even came, and he's not an elected official. So I ask that the borough and the council that is elected by the people of this town support the events in this town, or you won't have it even. Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. And we'll definitely take your comments to heart and work with you in the future, okay? Next up is Rhea Homa. Assuming Rhea is on Zoom. There she is.
I am. Hello, everyone. Hello, council members and mayor. I'm Rhea Homa, 742 Brunot Street. As events for Verona's 150th celebrations are fast approaching, Planning on all fronts is at full speed, and this includes logistics such as waste collection and management around these events. Verona is clearly a community that cares a lot about responsibly managing our waste. Verona organizes regular litter cleanups with neighbors and pit students. Verona has spearheaded plastic bag collections that have collected 3 times the 500-pound goal to earn 3 benches made of the recycled plastics. These will be going into the upcoming community garden. There is also wide interest in establishing composting solutions in Verona, and we all know how passionate people are about their opinions about our current waste hauler. In short, Verona cares about correctly managing our waste. The Parks and Recreation Board and Sea Green Sustainability Group also care about our waste and have found a service to responsibly manage the recycling, compost, and waste created during the 150th events. I am coming to you as a member of both of these groups to share information about our plan to implement zero waste stations during our Community Day signature events on September 18th and 19th. Whenever I say our, I mean Verona's in general. This allows us to lead by example of how to responsibly manage recycling, compost, and waste, share its importance, and share information on how to practice this at home. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. I was just going to share a picture of what these look like. Thank you very much. What I'm sharing is a picture of the zero waste stations from Pennsylvania Resource Council. As you can see, these bins offer separate containers with clear signage for landfill waste, compostable items, including food, and recyclables. A couple more details. I've been working with Pennsylvania Resource Council, and they recommend for the size of our events to have 4 stations. These zero waste stations are rented out for extended weekends, so we will be able to use the rented stations during both the community day on Saturday, September 18th, as well as the community picnic on Sunday, September 19th. There's no extra fee to use the stations multiple days, but PRC does charge per bag of recycling or compostable material that we drop off to them. So using the stations for 2 days in this way increases the price due to more bags of refuse being produced. I wanted to share a little bit about what we wanted to do to make managing this waste a little bit cheaper, and it boils down to volunteers. We would like to do 2 things. 1, manage our own recycling by using Verona's recycling stream as well as an additional glass drop-off location. We are expecting to save at least $10. And 2, using community volunteers will help keep costs low by $730 actually. And that breakdown is $580 for staffing, which we will do with volunteers, and $150 for transport, which again will be volunteers. So I would like to also share this. This is the quote that indicates that our total would be $390 for these services. And let me explain what these are. 4 stations were recommended for the size of our event. That's $30 each, $120 total. 2 hours of vendor coordination time. Will be a PRC representative that contacts the food vendors that we provide. We'll provide the information to them. PRC will contact them and inform them about the zero waste program that we'll be using and encourage vendors to use recyclable or compostable items. This will be $100 for this service. Based on the nature of the events, PRC estimates that we would create about 8 bags of industrially compostable waste over both events. However, we will be charged by the actual number of bags we create. So the 8 is a knowledgeable guess, but it will boil down to how many bags we actually create. Recycling, each bag and contents is $20 for PRC to industrially compost. At 8 bags, that would be about $160 expected total. Recycling disposal is $10 per bag that we create that we provide to PRC, or we can manage recycling waste ourselves. And Josh, my partner, and I are very willing to help manage this to save us some dough. So this will be an expected $0. Transportation setup and tear down. Josh and I will manage transportation before and after the events, as well as set up and tear down on the day of the events. People power. PRC recommends bags be checked every hour for each event. Volunteers will do quick bag checks and replace full bags with empty bags as needed. Volunteers will also move any full bags to a designated location to be picked up by the HOMAs, myself and Josh, and sorted on Monday. Quick bag checks are expected to take 10 to 15 minutes. We currently have 3 people signed up to cover 7 slots, which is enough to manage. Although if anyone wants to volunteer any other times, that is very welcome. Please email me at rhea.sunshine.pgh@gmail.com if you're interested in helping out. What we'll do with the bags after they're collected, Josh and I will transport the bags to our residence and do a quick sort on Monday following the events. Volunteers are also welcome to help sort with this as well. Recycling will be managed through Verona's recycling system. Glass will be dropped off at appropriate drop-off locations. Landfill waste will be discarded through Verona's hauling system. Compost will be transported to the Pennsylvania Resource Council by us. Also, these materials managed through Verona's recycling stream and materials composted through PRC will be eligible to be used toward Verona's 904 grant as well. Regarding funding, the Parks and Recreation Board has discussed using funds located in the budget under the Parks and Recreation line item 454-000 marked Other. To my knowledge, this entire $1,250 budgeted for this item still remains, and this is a worthy and fitting use of this money in the parks. So my ask is, I request on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Board that the council moves to pay for 0 waste stations as provided by Pennsylvania Resource Council with the guidelines that I've outlined above. A vote in favor during this evening's meeting would allow us to move forward quickly with booking the service in a timely manner ahead of our 150th events. Thank you for considering, and I welcome any questions or discussion about this, as well as hopefully a vote.
Is that it, Ray? Are you finished?
That is it.
Okay, thank you so much for your always interesting and important presentation, trying to make Verona more green. I appreciate it. I think, when do you need to know this by? Because I am suspicious of the idea that Act 65 would necessarily allow us to make a motion on this tonight, but I'm not 100% sure. So
What's the time frame, Maria, that you need an answer on this? Right.
Time frame. The sooner the better, for the purpose of PRC contacting the vendors, the food vendors that will be at the events in order to prepare them and let them know, hey, this is what we're doing. These are the items that would be great if you would be able to provide, as opposed to, you know, other types of packaging.
Is there any reason that it can't wait till the regular meeting in 2 weeks to vote on it? I mean, it is technically on the agenda. I think we probably get away with taking a vote, but I'd rather wait for the regular meeting if possible.
So that would, I'm sorry, so that would be in 2 weeks. That would be the 14th, and our community day is the 18th. I think that that is too close for vendors to be able to do anything about it at that point.
Solicitor, if we're using budgeted monies for what's been allocated, it's left to budgeted, you can make a motion if we're spending what's already been chosen to be used.
You still need to make a motion to spend the money. Just because it's budgeted doesn't mean you're actually going to spend it. So I would request that a motion be made. So yes.
okay, so before I ask for a motion, does anybody have any major questions or concerns that they'd like to ask about this particular expenditure?
I have one.
Okay,
$12.50. Does that include the extra bags of garbage that gotta go, or do we have to pay up and above that? $12.50.
I thought you were
It's
asking.
an annual budget. This one's for 390 for this collection.
Yeah,
So if our
It's 1250 here.
1,250 budgeted for the year, it'll hit that line item. She's asking to spend $290 for this event upcoming this year.
Okay, so out of the 390, that covers everything. So if we send 10 bags, we don't pay extra.
No, we absolutely would, but keep in mind, we're only paying for industrially compostable items. Because we're using Verona's trash system as well as their single stream recycling system, in addition to glass drop-offs elsewhere, none of those cost money. Those are just volunteers managing them. The only thing that we would be paying for is each bag that we would provide to be industrially composted.
And that would approximately be $120, you're saying that.
That would, if we did,
I would be
if we
paying like
created
almost
8
$500.
bags, if we created 8 bags, that would be $160.
Okay,
and that was in your, was that the estimate in your presentation?
Yes,
Yes.
in the
I couldn't
quote.
see.
Yeah, so what I'm getting, Rhea, from you is, with all the best estimates, you're asking council for $390 at this point. I'm not sure what happens if it goes over 390, but I'm sure we can work that out somehow. But
Yes, that's correct. Perhaps we could put a limit on it or something. I think that would be okay. If her best guess is 8 bags, they're very knowledgeable. They've been doing this for quite a while. I explained the nature of each of our events. You know, there's going to be a chili cook-off. That these are how many food trucks we're expecting, and 8 bags of compost is what they estimated. But perhaps if it's like no more than 10 or something like that, I think that would be also acceptable.
Solicitor, can we make a motion in order of the 390 plus whatever bags we send up to 1250? Wouldn't that be better? That way we're covered up to 1200, up to so many bags. You're not going to spend that much on bags of garbage, 1200 or $700.
If somebody needs to make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
and what is
The
specific?
motion is to hire this company for the 390 plus whatever bags we send them, up to $1,250.
Any other questions or comments on this or concerns? Okay, great. All those in favor, please. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, rest assured, we will not need $1,250 for this. That just happens to be how much is in the line item.
Yeah, that's fine. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Council. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Solicitor.
Okay, thank you. Now's the time period for comments from the public on agenda-related items. Agenda-related items are the items that are listed on the agenda through the adjournment. We're going to stick to the 3-minute time frame, and all comments need to be addressed to Mayor and Council, and more particularly the chair. We're not going to be talking back and forth in the audience. That happens sometimes. We try to rein it in as best we can. We're really going to stick to the rules because we do have a lot of people here. We just want everybody to use dignity and decorum, be polite, and we'll treat you with respect as well. I'm certain that there's going to be a lot of comments with regard to the private event at the Hula Bar last week and or the security. So Mayor and Council are going to listen to all of those comments before they comment back. So if that happens to be what you're commenting on, don't expect an immediate reply. With that, if you're a taxpayer resident, you're welcome to come up for public comment. And again, we will limit it to 3 minutes. I'll monitor that time frame, and we'll just keep it simple. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to let everybody know, I'm usually pretty flexible about the 3 minutes, but tonight I have it on my watch. I'm going to make it 3 minutes. So, you know, it's the same for everybody, to be fair. And I guess, please state your name. Let's see. Council will hear comments on agenda-related items only at this time. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand and clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Janine. You're
Good evening, thank you. My name is Janine Hart Robinson, 431 School Street. Verona is a small family-oriented community. We have groups and individual residents who strive to promote positivity. The events that transpired on Sunday, August 22nd, at the Boulevard were concerning and disgusting. It's not about political affiliation, religion, or race. It's about the safety of my neighbors in this community that I love. It's the optics. A self-proclaimed militia armed with visible weapons outside of the hula was completely unnecessary and disrespectful to the residents and businesses of Verona. The message of intimidation was loud and clear. We do not want this type of representation in our community. These armed thugs are not residents here. The owner of the hula is not a resident either. The trials and tribulations of hate that Sherry and her family experienced in the past are inexcusable. However, Sherry's experiences have no bearing on our community. As a business owner, she should not promote or welcome hate into our community. It's one thing to own a business in a community. It's a completely different thing when you live in the community. I have provided counsel by email to the admin address with photos of the event, screenshots of the ICCRU, Iron City Citizens Response Unit's mission statement, and links to live Facebook videos, and shown the group's ties to white supremacy. The owner claims they were not armed. I have provided photo evidence. The owner claims they did not engage anyone. I was approached for taking pictures and verbally assaulted, as were other members of our community. We were called communist, Antifa, and racist. I was called the B word, none of which describes me or any of the others who were verbally assaulted. We are concerned citizens. I also watch children or babies riding their bikes past this event to go to get-go. I'm calling on the mayor, the chief of police, and the members of council to launch a full investigation into the events that transpired. Were any of these people pretending to be security vetted as having Act 235 clearances to be security? Who verified this? Why is one of our officers being praised as an accomplice to this horrific event online? I was told by Sergeant Francos that there were other officers on duty if there was a problem in another area of our town. I'd like to see that this was actually what happened. The rally was supposed to take place at another establishment. Once the owners were made aware of who security was, the event was not permitted. Jason Ritchie, PA, gubernatorial candidate, pulled out from the event, citing he does not want to be associated with them or breathe the same air they breathe. Their principles are disgusting. ICCRU has doubled down and are asking online for like-minded individuals to visit and support the hula bar in our town.
Janine, I hate to interrupt, but
Yes,
it's been 3 minutes.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
my apologies.
Yes. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else coming up
Agenda items.
on agenda items? Looks like
Three.
we have some.
Online.
Okay, let's go in order.
Jessica Varone.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Great. All right, well, get right to it. Jessica Varone, 722 Bruno. I think everyone here tonight is united in one thing, and that's our desire to have a safe community. Last week, many of our residents did not feel safe as we had an armed militia with extremist ideology that stood guard on the streets of downtown Verona. They intimidated those who visited our business district. They frightened our children and really caused unnecessary fear among our community members. So tonight I'm here to share my concerns as a neighbor, a mother, and most importantly, someone who wants to keep Verona a safe and welcoming place for everyone to live. A little bit of background, I think it's important. The Southern Poverty Law Center identifies the Iron City Citizens Response Unit as an extreme anti-government militia. The group knowingly uses imagery associated with white supremacy. Although they will deny this connection, the Norse symbol, it's called a Valknot, is prominently displayed on their uniforms. And it really, I think, is a way to covertly nod to their white supremacist agenda. If you do a really quick Google search, you'll uncover there's many other hate groups who use the same symbol. In fact, you might have seen that same symbol tattooed to the chest of one of the most famously photographed insurrectionists. You remember him, he wore that horned hat and fur, and it had his face painted with the American flag. Nobody wants to openly admit, or very few people probably, that they are a white supremacist. So it's better to hide behind symbols that aren't commonly known like this. It's sort of a secret handshake. Lets other people know that their similarly hateful viewpoints are welcome. So that's what I am opposing being in our town, these kinds of hateful attitudes. And I just want to share a little background because I think it helps explain that aside from the fact that I don't want any armed militia on our streets in general, why this group is so concerning. The FBI has also identified Pittsburgh as an area, a hub for white supremacy and extremists, and we're seeing this play out in our backyard. So I've seen some troubling patterns here in our community over the past month especially. We saw a hate crime committed next door in Oakmont last month when Antonio Paris was beaten for the color of his skin and his sexuality. We've also seen an increase in extremist group activity. I've seen paraphernalia, many of us have, stickers found on signs bearing the names of hate groups such as Patriot Front or even anti-Semitic imagery. I'm terrified that the footholds of hate are taking place right here in our backyard, and I will not tolerate it quietly. These groups attack my friends, my own family, and those that are vulnerable in our community. There are a couple of actions I'd like to request tonight of council and others in the audience. I'd like to request that a protocol be established to notify the community if there's a bomb threat or militia who will be present in Verona. I'd like all of our community members to be vigilant, to look for these stickers and paraphernalia from these groups and report them to our police. I'd like to confirm that our police are taking reports of local hate group or extremist group activities seriously, and that they are sharing any reports of propaganda such as stickers that I referred to with the FBI as appropriate. So overall, I'm truly grateful that the day ended without any violence, but I'm really worried about what the next event may bring and the future safety of Verona. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Who's up next?
Laura Jacko.
Hi, Laura Jacko, 47 North. I'd like to echo the same comments of Jess and Janine. I think that they probably said everything that I could have said, but much more eloquently. They are both very stand-up and respected citizens in our community. I think that having a militia here on our streets, first of all, was meant to intimidate and scared a lot of people. I'm actually in a gaming group that often goes out on the weekends, and they were telling people to please stay away from Verona, that it was a dangerous place to go that weekend. That's not the kind of thing that I want to hear about the place that I live. That's very scary, and I feel like this is incredibly inappropriate. There's no reason for there to be a militia here, and make no bones about it, again, this was an actual anti-government militia. This is verifiable, again, on nonprofit websites that are tasked with keeping an eye on these sorts of things. This is not a Republican Democrat thing. You know, people are free to have political rallies as they wish. I want to point out, I think some other people pointed out too, that there were actually several Republicans, including a GOP candidate, who withdrew from this event because of the anti-government extremists who were there. In fact, the GOP candidate who withdrew said that they did not feel that the event was appropriate, and that the principles that these people stand for are disgusting. I am not saying that. That is what a Republican candidate said, and why he refused to associate himself with this event. It was thoroughly inappropriate to have it in the streets of Verona. It was inappropriate to have this in our small neighborhood. And I just really want to make it very clear that this is not welcome here, and that we should not stand for it. And yeah, I'm sure, again, Jessica and Janine said everything much more eloquently than me, but that's what I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. I think next is it Mr. Stimmel?
Yeah, Nate Stimmel.
Hi, thank you. Let's see, Nathan Stimmel. I live on Verona Hilltop. So just, do I have to provide my address?
Or no, did he? Okay, no, you don't.
Hilltop. Thank you. I'm a resident. I'm a taxpayer. Thank you. So just to provide a little more bigger picture context as to the concern around militia presence. So the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, multiple congressional intelligence committees and the president have identified private militias as a threat to national security in the US. This has been the case since the acts of terrorism committed by civilian paramilitary groups in the 90s, and vigilance to the threat posed by these kinds of groups has continued to today. Last year, the FBI stopped a plot by a militia to kidnap the governor of Michigan and hold her hostage. And numerous militia groups were involved in the assault and attempted coup of the US Capitol on January 6th of this year. So bearing this in mind, one can understand the shock, fear, and outrage from the community here in Verona when on Sunday, August 22nd, a prominent and respected local business hosted an event with a self-identified private militia in attendance. As others have expressed more than adequately already in this meeting, having this element in our town, in any town for that matter, is truly unacceptable. The incident caught the attention of local media and is now a black eye on a community that strived to improve its image in recent years. I'm also very concerned that once the noise from this event blows over, I'm concerned about the lasting impression. I worry that Verona and the prominent business in question will gain a reputation as a place that not only tolerates extremists, but welcomes them with open arms. I worry that the events of August 22nd will read like an invitation of this kind of element into our backyard, and I think I speak for a sizable contingent of Verona when I say I do not want to see that happen. Thank you for your time, and I trust that you will take this incident and its implications very seriously.
Thanks, Nate. Okay, who is next?
Kelly.
Go ahead,
Hi,
Kelly.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Kelly Melly, 751 East Railroad. I just wanted to give some of the facts that I witnessed on that same day. I would like to state that our food truck out front had stated several times that they might leave because they felt unsafe. It wasn't just that the Steel City crew or Iron City crew was on the corners. When we opened, an hour before we opened, they were casing the block, walking back and forth in front of our business, standing in front of the Icarian Club. So it was very, they were looking to make sure that everything was clear, but clearly walking in front of our food truck. Once we opened and we put our seats out front on the sidewalk, we did have a few patrons. One brought a baby carriage and they had their first drink and said that they're not staying because they were fearful that if something would start or happen, that they would be in the crossfire. So they left. I had a few other patrons come in and sit at the bar. And I had a gentleman walk in with a bulletproof vest on and walked around to almost every table looking at everyone in the eye. So a few of my patrons got up and left. I'm not sure if he was with the group, but he was definitely someone who had hit their ideology, walking around with a bulletproof vest on in our business for some reason. So the optics on that whole block looks bad, which makes the rest of the businesses on that block look bad because it wasn't just contained to the corner. The militia was walking back and forth and on every corner down to Billy Kay's and back. And I would like to not be associated with any kind of hate group. I welcome anyone to have any kind of event inside their building, or if they go through the proper channels to be able to do it on the street like we had, but I could not see a business owner who, even if they did not hire these people, you're still in charge of what happens in front and outside of your business and on the rest of the block. So it did hinder our business, but more importantly, it's not financial. What it was it started fear in the people who were sitting outside and some of the people in my tap room.
Okay, thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments on, okay, Tim?
My name's Tim Long, I live at 323 Penn Street. I'm gonna finish a speech that was given by another member of our community. because she didn't have enough time. Then I'd also like to mention that on 8/13, current Lieutenant Governor Fetterman was in Oakmont for an event. He did not have a security detail for his visit. A hopeful candidate to come needed all this. Sorry. Was this his security detail on January 6th? When he was at the Capitol? Make it make sense. I urge our elected officials and the police department to take the necessary steps to serve and protect our community, Verona, from the display of hate and virtue in the future. I echo this wholeheartedly. We do not need this in our small town. We do not need armed militia on our streets. If these people need to come here, then we don't need them. That's plain and simple. We don't need hate and Verona. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks for finishing. Okay.
Kirk Yamati, 551 East Railroad. I would just like to confirm what Kelly Melly was saying. I was also there at intergroup that day. And adding to hers, they were not only in front and the entire the building next door and our building, but they were going through the alleyway. They were behind the building. They were on the corner, both corners along the boulevard. And as I was setting up for the day, it made me feel very uncomfortable. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Everyone, my name is Kimberly Roller. I live on the road. I would like to speak as many citizens here tonight. I'm here to address the recent events that transpired along the East Railroad Avenue. Before I discuss this, my personal concerns, I want to make something very clear. This is not, and I repeat, this is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. This is not right versus left. This is not about anything of that matter. This is about decency. This is about the people that we love and our fellow human beings. This is about the safety of my neighbors. This is about the people who I've come to call my friends. I searched for homes here for years before I made Verona my home. I'm a proud Verona resident, and I am active in the community on all fronts. I did my research here before I moved here. I ensured that the community was a good fit for my family. When doing my research here, I found so many positive things about Verona that made me fall in love. The walkable business district, the schools, the people. This is why I moved here. Something like the events that transpired last weekend in the presence of a self-proclaimed militia endangers this community. It endangers its growth and endangers its people. This militia had weapons in full display at a local restaurant. This was all over social media, and not just on sites like the City Paper. For example, in a Pokemon Go group, people were warned to avoid Verona during the event. How long will that avoidance last? Could this potentially provide harm to businesses and community events for years to come? This could and is going to be a stain on Verona. I encourage the mayor, the officers, and council to please do your jobs. Protect the citizens of Verona from hate and aggression that could potentially plague this town and make it a danger for both my family and yours.
Thank you, Kim.
It's 323 Penn Street. I completely agree with everybody who's just spoken. I am a product. I was raised in an interracial household my whole life, and I'm 6'4", 225 pounds. That day, when I saw those posts on Facebook, I didn't feel comfortable leaving my house. I didn't leave my house all day. I didn't spend a dime in Verona because that's how groups like this in our town make me feel. And I'm not alone. I'm sure upward of 60% of the town did not feel comfortable having them here. So I've witnessed racism and the ugliness that it brings firsthand. There's no place for that in this town.
Thank you, Vince.
Hello. My name is Christine Stepien. I am not a Verona resident. I have a beautiful, beautiful town.
That's okay. Public comment is for residents and taxpayers of the community.
I can address the August 22nd event. I was one of the organizers.
Ms. Kai is here that can address that. She's a taxpayer in the community.
Well, I did send a letter to the council, to the mayor, to the president. I received no comment back. I addressed it right away.
Thank you.
Okay, now I think I should be able to talk. When can I talk?
There's a thing called the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, and it requires that mayor and council provide a period of public comment to residents and taxpayers. That's the fabric of Verona. You're neither a resident nor taxpayer, and that's the rule.
All right, I'll talk. But I'm defending a red, white, and blue freedom rally that was held here in your city. We had no violence whatsoever.
I understand.
Does anybody know that Antifa and a terrorist group came here that night?
Excuse me.
Does anybody know that they were escorted out of your house?
So what you're doing is breaking our rule.
Okay.
Okay.
I am a taxpayer. I pay property tax.
You do. Sure, you're a taxpayer. Come on up. Address council, mayor, council, please.
Address the council. Okay. I wanted to thank you, council and Madam President, Mayor, for give everybody opportunity to address the event happened on August 22nd. The organizers are sitting here right now. There's a Navy veterans, there's grandmother, there's mother, husbands, wives, just like everybody else in this town. Okay, the reason the Iron City recruit, I can't even, ICCRU was there, is because these women have received threats from Antifa. And the gentleman sitting in the back was serving as a deterrent, so nothing will happen. They're actually here to protect the town. The optics and how you feel about them, that's your personal feeling. But I can tell you one thing. The event was pro-America. The event was pro-Second Amendment and pro-First Amendment. If you know me, I've never apologized for my love to United States of America and the Constitution of the United States. I believe as a business owner, and it was a private event. We don't open till 5. The event was from 1 to 4. As far as experience hate concern, I have never in my 30 years of living in the United States experienced as a Chinese immigrant, experienced as much hate and slander and defamation as I experienced last Sunday on Facebook in the social media. Yes, it went far and wide. My reputation, personal reputation, and my business were defamed. I had no idea what my parents experienced when they were in China during the Cultural Revolution. This is playbook by playbook. This is what I was taught when I was a little girl growing up in China. You label, you help groupthink, you label the person, and then you destroy them. The only thing they didn't do to me is dragging me through the streets of Verona and call me a white supremacist. They did on Facebook. They did not need my grandparents dragging out the street. You know why? Because now they're saying if you hold a gun legally, you're anti-government. Well, back when this Cultural Revolution, you know what's anti-government? Being a Christian was anti-government. The definition gonna keep going and going down. Having a relatives in the United States and Taiwan were considered spies. My father, my grandfather, all jailed because they were Christian, because it was considered anti-government. So now I finally experienced what my grandparents experienced in this little town of Verona. I was a phone call away. Jessica Verone knows my phone, knows how to call the boulevard. Somebody could have asked me what happened there. I would have invited everybody sitting here to go and watch the event. It was peaceful, it was loving. We had a pastor there. The thing is, majority of the people are 50 years and older, and majority of them are women. So when a threat like this happened, they don't want to have to defend themselves. I know my 3 minutes is up, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve McCallips. I'm from Verona Hilltop as well. I just wanted to say really quickly, thank you for letting me speak. I think what everybody needs to remember is that there's already rules in place for what happened on Sunday. Essentially, if a bar decides to host some people and they become a nuisance, you can go onto the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board website and then say that is a nuisance. And now their license becomes at risk, okay? So it's no different from somebody walking out of a bar intoxicated and vomiting on the sidewalk, which I think is what a lot of people online and here felt like was essentially happening, morally, whatever. So if you find that your local business has a liquor license and they're hosting armed people on the street, they are patrons of that establishment, okay? So if they are offending you in some sort of way, there's already a recourse of action, which is to contact the Liquor Control Board and explain that this was a nuisance situation, okay? That's all I have to say. Hopefully everybody can take from that. Thank you.
You know what, I'll contact it for you. I'll call the liquor board. Sorry, I thought that was.
Yeah, we're not, this is
We're not
public comment.
doing that.
We're not going back and forth. Thank you.
Anybody else like to say something?
I'm not a resident when I speak, or no, I'm part of the ICTO.
Sherry spoke very well for you guys. We're limited to residents and taxpayers.
Okay.
We're going to move along to the rest of the agenda.
Unless there's anyone else from Verona that'd like to speak. So I'm not seeing any hands.
Is that rule just apply because it's a special meeting, or can he speak at a regular scheduled?
Public comment is always for taxpayers and residents. That's what the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law says.
Thank you.
And this isn't a special meeting, this is a regularly scheduled meeting. It's the workshop on the last Tuesday of the month.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so if that's all the public comment we have on agenda items, then we will move on. And that would be me. Thank you, everyone, for being patient and listening to all the comments that were presented this evening. I'd like to move on to my agenda items. And the first agenda item I have is to introduce our wonderful new borough secretary. I think I'll wait a minute until all the everybody's left.
I'm sorry, what is it? We have 3 copies for who?
You can pass it around. I'll be back.
Okay. Okay.
Like this?
All right. Could someone shut the door, please? You have to push the, let the thing come up. Yeah. No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Moving on now. Christine DeRunk is our new borough secretary, and welcome to Verona.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to let everyone know how much I'm looking forward to working with her. The first 36 hours have been great. She's been very patient, given everything that's been going on. And I know that her skills are going to be, of which there are many, are going to be very valuable in stabilizing and growing the community. So once again, welcome. And if there's anything you'd like to say, go right ahead.
Yeah, just hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm glad to see, such a engaged community. It's really exciting for me to be here, and I look forward to, working with council and mayor and serving the community.
Verona welcomes you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Very exciting. Thank you. And speaking of people working with the community, the next item on my agenda items is a motion to approve Susan Hackenberry's proposal that she sent to us toward the beginning of August. And for the public, I'd like to highlight some of the things that Susan has proposed to provide for us. In her proposal basically is to work 16 hours a month for the next 12 months. And during that time, she's going to help us establish short and long-term performance standards, support employee development and performance, strengthen the overall management infrastructure of the borough, and cultivate a culture of trust, transparency, accountability, and professionalism within the Borough Council and staff. So what she's proposing to do is to work for us a maximum of 16 hours per month. She's also going to add, I think, 4 council trainings in addition to those 16 hours a month. And this is all going to be for a really cost-effective amount of money over the 12 months, which would be $13,400. And that will be paid monthly, 11/16/66. And Susan has been immensely helpful to the community in the past, what has it been, since the end of January? So 7.5, 8 months. And you guys all got this proposal back in the beginning of August. Susan, I'm assuming you're here somewhere online. And
I am.
yes, thank you. And I don't know whether anybody else, if you'd like to add anything to what I have outlined from your proposal, or if anybody has any questions for Susan at this time. Okay, well then, that being the case, I'll take a motion to accept Susan Hackenberry's proposal that will start her working for us tomorrow, September 1st.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Matlin. Second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Warren. Any other questions or concerns?
No questions or concerns. I just want to say that I think this will be a really great help for council and for Ms. DeRonk in starting off on a good note and in her development and getting accustomed to the new role.
Great.
I would agree. I think that through discussion, there were some questions or concerns, or are we being responsible spenders of taxpayer money for who we need? And as I've said for a while, becoming a full-time operation for a full-time community is important to me. And I heard some questions that I think that the conversation on confidence is a good investment. And I look forward to having Christine off to a good start.
Great. Okay, anything else? In that case, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Welcome back, Susan.
Well, I have a soft spot in my heart for Verona, and I'm thrilled to be here for Christine's first night and to get the ball rolling, or keep the ball rolling. You guys are really on a positive trajectory in Verona, so congratulations and thank you for the opportunity to continue to work together.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. But you're welcome to stay tonight if you want to. The next thing real quick, I just want to mention the August dinner that we sponsored with the Twin Borough Ministries. Over 100 or around 150 meals were distributed on Wednesday, August 25th. And we each owe the mayor $25.
Well, explain why.
Oh, because, right, because he went and bought all the food. That's why. So, yes, I did. That was just a reminder to everybody, including myself, that we need to try and get that to him. So it's a very successful event, as every meal is, with Shirley Davis heading it up. And we thank Shirley for all the work she does for people around the area. Also, you may be wondering what this is here. Again, Shirley Davis. She held the fun camp, I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays in the mornings at Cribbs Field. And she had all the kids write a thank you to the borough. So I just wanted to display that for this meeting and point out that it was very sweet of them to present this to me on a few Thursdays ago on their last fun camp day. So you can come up later and take a look. And then the last thing on my agenda is I just wanted to talk about and mention some of the very positive things that have been going on in Verona in the last 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not going to go into detail, but I just wanted to mention we had very successful car cruise, and I'll let the mayor talk about that. The ribbon cutting and the dedication up at the Cribs Field, I'll let Janet talk about that. The wrestling, of course, has already been mentioned. Tim and Vince were very instrumental in that with Janet's help as well. And as some of you may or may not know, this organization called Travelers Aid had their 100-year anniversary in Railroad Park the same day that the wrestling was going on. They were very pleased with the use of our park and had a really great experience for their 100-year anniversary. So I just want to mention that, and I wanted to open it up if there's anything council wants to elaborate on the comments that we heard earlier today or not. And that's fine if you don't. I just, want to make that available.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I think there were some very serious concerns brought up that I think we should take seriously. I do share the concerns about an armed militia patrolling our streets on a Sunday afternoon. It's a problem for us as a borough if people don't feel safe walking East Railroad Avenue and Center Avenue to get-go with their families. I, as a council member, was not aware of the event until it was already underway. And I'm speaking with several other council members. I think most of us, if not all of us, were in the same boat. I just think that we need to look at this and from a public safety standpoint, and if there is an event that we're made aware of that it is being relocated or held due to threats of any sort, threats of violence, or I'm not sure what exactly the threats were that caused this event to be held at the Hula Bar, and with this kind of level of security, I think we just need to ask our police need to ask the questions and get the information they can. And I'm not saying that they didn't do that. I just think we need to make sure that that our police are prepared to make it a safe, that our streets and sidewalks are safe for everyone, and to minimize the impact to residents and businesses, because that obviously was a big impact to other businesses and to foot traffic in the area. And I just think we need to take that seriously and do our homework and figure out what can be done better, whether it's communication or just public safety response.
Madam President, I'd just like to real quickly elaborate on that.
Yeah.
And I do agree, the chief and I did talk about this situation, and in the future, when that is brought up, we will look more in depth with that. As far as why, when, where, as far as security goes.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayor. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. A couple of things I mentioned on the agenda. And just to be clear, I did prepare some of these notes before any of the events that happened on Sunday. So I do want to share just in general some of the things that I had prepared. A lot of these things are very positive. It was mentioned about not being in attendance at one of our many events that's happened this last month. I just do want to, for having been called out as not attending somewhere, do kind of share my footprint in the last few weeks of where I've spent time, and I could not be everywhere. I did not have the luxury of seeing first person, but I was at the disadvantage of knowing what happened after the fact on Sunday. I was with a small friend of mine, a child who has an inoperable tumor. I work at Children's Hospital, spending what was the last days of his summer vacation, trying to make it very special. So I did not see in person, and at the disadvantage of not being here. Thank you. I was also preparing for a 4-day trip away from my family and did have a chance to spend time in our community, but I was not specifically at a singular event for a wrestling event. But I do want to give kudos to the team who set up months and weeks of preparation for that. And sincerely, kudos to the team who had done that. And I'm very glad that that was a community event we proudly had in our community. Verona honored a family who lost their son with a plaque with a rededication, and that was a very proud moment for me. Share that with our congressman, with everyone here tonight. The community event that was hosted for the wrestling that was in our park at Cribs, very proud of that as well. That was on my list prior to Sunday. Welcomed our state representative to share a few words, took pictures with families. He did the ribbon cutting. It was a very proud moment for me. I did not know 5 weeks ago what I'd be doing or where I would be. And ribbon cutting was a very proud moment for me as a resident, who also was noted tonight, chose this community in the last 3 years specifically for the things I was able to see this past few weeks. Verona did welcome Travelers Aid, who celebrated 100 years of helping others with a successful event. Railroad Park, I think, was full of families and a lot of people enjoying under the tent in the sun. So thanks to those businesses and families who participated. We did have some activity on our shore with some boats. So I know that there was a boating event that was not happening downtown that was brought here, but we also did have a 10.7 live band and music and an outside brewer that came in, and very family friendly, very wonderful event. A lot of kayaking, paddle boarding, a lot of people I had seen that evening as well. And the meals that were organized, which I know usually $5 per mayor, very proud moment as well. Serving up food, delivering the food. That concerted effort was wonderful with Twin Borough, but I think beyond that, I got a little bit of a behind the scenes of what our community has within the church for people who can't afford clothing or shoes or coats. And there is a free store for families. And I did not see that firsthand, and it's very moving for me, who for a moment in my life was homeless and have also been given things secondhand and have received meals. Very touching to see that that's happening right here, right down the street from our owners. So those things I'm very proud of. I don't want to speak to a lot of the other things that were mentioned because I think there's some very well spoken remarks. And also a moment of being very neighborly to help a fellow resident finish what was over their 3-minute time limit that was extended to somebody. I think that took a lot of courage. So I want to thank our neighbors for helping neighbors tonight. I would say in a weekend that, from what I understand, had a show of force, I'd like to think that the show of love in our community was a lot stronger and deserves more time and attention. So these bullets, all the things I found to be positive, I did want to bring up. My concern is that after the fact, I did not know about any of this, but I understand that people within the community knew Tuesday and Wednesday, all the way through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When I was away, I did get people asking me if I'm looking online, if I know what's going on, if I could answer questions I didn't know. And being at the disadvantage of not being here, I was under the impression that I would be able to view footage in our municipality with a resource that we have that are cameras. And my request after 8 days to view all cameras within the borough for me to see firsthand. I don't want to hear secondhand accounts or third person or have somebody color a picture for me. I'd like to have seen it myself. I did receive footage this afternoon at 4 p.m. after work. I was able to see some of it. But it showed one camera view of the many cameras within the 2 systems we have. And I think as a matter of liability, preparation, for many reasons, I would appreciate that if we could expect to have just as much as we rely on fire hydrants, extinguishers, and our cruisers to work, have a resource which is our video system up and running and able to be used within a time frame that would allow for us to, if needed, answer to things that we might have been liable for or responsible for or should have had a better understanding of. I think we're very fortunate that for what had occurred, nothing bad happened. And I will be clear, I do understand people have rights. People should be able to gather and spend at our local businesses. There are a lot of things that are people's rights that they are definitely able to exercise. I think where my disappointment is, and my confusion and my frustration is that in being at the disadvantage of being outside of here in my neighborhood after a really good couple of days and having to get up to speed, I just wish I would have known Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday what was going on as a heads up, because I would like to have the confidence that someone were to ask me, did you know this was happening? Yes. Or how we're well equipped or staffed. So my frustration is not pointed towards people. My frustration is pointed towards systems and how we work together. I think the communication piece of it, from what I've understood, is lacking. It's getting better, it's getting stronger. I think a lot of the things we're looking to have done, joining, we're able to do some of these administrative things. We're able to communicate a lot smoother after tonight. But I just want to share that as one long-winded recap of these past few weeks. In addition to all the things I said that were wonderful and I'm proud to have been a part of and are for our community, and I couldn't be everywhere. I know there's a lot of preparation by both volunteers and also our public works and some people here as well, both spending their dollars and spending their time to make sure that they've had a proper celebration and all families were welcome, and all businesses had patrons and enjoyed themselves. So that's my remarks.
Thanks, Joy. I just want to say that I think I've learned a lot about what we can and cannot do in these types of situations. And I think whenever something like this occurs, when you boil it all down, the key is about communication. And I will do my best to facilitate improved communication in the future. And I'm looking forward to both Susan and Christine's help in making that happen. Anybody else want to say anything about all
You
this?
stepped out when I spoke, but I want to thank you for your efforts for the rest of the event. I was away. I was 4 days away from my family. I visited, I think, 5 events that day, and unfortunately, it's not there for the time for the rest of the event. But kudos to your hard work. Thank you for fundraising. But having been called out for not being in attendance, I thought you were doing the answer why I wasn't there, but I was spending time with my family while I could, and I was at multiple events. I can see the ribbon coming. Very proud moment for me across the board. But I don't think so thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, Joey. I did want to invite everyone to put it on your radar, if not already, that of course we have our big 150th event coming up, led by the Verona Community Group. And we really need a lot of help. Vince is organizing the picnic on Sunday, and I thought it'd be a lovely addition to have members of council there to help serve food. Also will help with COVID friendliness to have one person wearing gloves serve various things instead of many hands reaching in. So if you're interested, let me know. We can work out a schedule so it's not everyone having to be there the whole day. And I also thought perhaps we could make a donation of ice cream for an ice cream sundae bar. So if anyone has any other thoughts or ideas, that would be great to continue the positivity within the community.
Yeah, so that would be kind of like the dinner where everyone would come, maybe not at the same time, like you said, but just an opportunity for all of us to do for an hour or half an hour, however long you can stay and serve the food. Very nice, thank you.
And
Can I
regarding,
clarify, you still only have to serve side stuff.
Okay.
We'll take care of the hamburgers and the hot dogs. and
Okay.
the hot stuff.
All right,
the heavy lifting, yeah.
okay, the sides, very good. All right, we'll work out the details later. Thank you.
And like so many others have said, I too was taken aback and found alarming the event on Sunday. Obviously, I think I speak for everyone that we want to have events that are inclusive and representative of our values here in Verona, the wonderful and charming community that we've all chosen to call home. Personally, I struggled a lot with, I think as Joey sort of alluded to, just trying to get a handle on what exactly happened that we're working on and what exactly we can do. So I really appreciated Janine and many other comments tonight. You brought forward some really good suggestions. I think others as well. And I don't know if, in addition to the footage, Mayor, if you know any more details that you can share at this time about the vetting process or investigation or any other details that you might be able to share on that.
We were notified about that, the event. I don't have much to say. I mean, I think the chief was drawn back on that too. There was security provided, and you know, I don't know what to say on that. I honestly don't. Like I said, we were notified about that, and as far as I know, that there was going to be an event there with security. And I didn't know they were going to be, you know, toting the guns, but they, you know, legally that, you know, they have a right to. And I feel for, you know, the people that were inconvenienced by that. You and I talked. I talked with several of the people that, you know, felt very uncomfortable with that. And the chief and I talked about that. And we're going to kind of implement when somebody says, hey, we're going to have an event, but I'm going to have security here. And, you know, we're going to ask, you know, a few more questions next time, you know, so we're all on the same page. And I don't want to be, you know, anybody offended by saying for us, this was a learning experience also, you know, we will do better next time and, you know, move forward.
Knowing what we know from the email that was shared, and this was after the fact for myself, knowing all that we know about the threats to the businesses to define, to what it means to hold on to what they're afraid for, and for all the uncertainties, property damage, and the over-prepared security for the event that we shared by Sherry, would you see that we would welcome them again next time with the same security, or what would you suggest for protocol? Should this be an occurrence in a week from now or a month?
I mean, you're saying, should we allow them to come back? I mean, I don't know legally. I don't know.
No, I'm asking that if from what was shared, but Sherry, I got your email after May 14th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It was shared by colleagues, but all the things you outlined, which were helpful. You were out with the group earlier when I was explaining. I knew all this after the fact. So some of the questions that you had Tuesday before the event in your email, that there were wanting to deter anyone that would cause problems. You were told that there was a concern about Antifa.
Yep.
So all these things that have been now known, I'm wondering what you as mayor, you would like us to understand for next time that there's an opportunity that someone would say, we would like to be back in a week or a month, so that we're aware of what to anticipate, because specifically with what the attendance of what was here last Sunday, if that were to occur again, I think we find ourselves in the same situation. So I'm just wondering what you would like to share with us so that we could all be on the same page. Because I know there's a lot of unknowns, but I think some specific concerns that we do now know about what entails some of the security, some of the cautions, some of the reasons that it is moved to Verona. I'm just wondering if there's anything you should understand for if this were to occur again that we're needing.
I think that's something that Chief and I would have to go over. We'd have to find out who these people are, you know, who's coming in, what type of security it's going to be, and you know, then possibly get a hold of the, you know, solicitor for legal advice on that. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I don't know what the rights of me coming in with a gun. I mean, you know.
I guess my question is if the concern, because the threat was moved from one location to another, if we are the last location that's been posted, I'm just wondering, because I didn't know this would have happened 2 weeks ago. I don't know if it'll happen again. I'm just trying to be proactive in understanding what we would then know as far as security or I have full confidence in our police and chief. So if we have full confidence in our police force, I don't know if it's required that we would need outside security, knowing you know, how they operate, because we're well equipped, we're well staffed, we're well armed. I mean, all these things that as a police force we've had for 150 years. I'm wondering if that warrants having anything beyond that if someone were to come back.
I think that every case would be different. We'd have to see, you know what groups coming in, where it's going to be held, you know, what their security is, then go from there, take it from there. You know, I mean, I can't say, no, you can't come in. I mean, legally, can I do that? Well, I understand you're not asking that. I do understand you're not asking that.
So if I may, I don't know if were you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any implication for the borough or for as far as the Act 235, which I believe is regarding, Craig, are you familiar with this at all, regarding I think it has something to do with private security. I'm not super familiar with it, but sorry, Sylvia?
35 gives you permission to carry a gun, right?
Well, I think and maybe Janine can shed some light on it, but I think it has to do with using a weapon as armed security. And I just don't know if there's any implications here for that.
And my question, Mayor, I don't mean to frustrate you, it's just that from what I had heard tonight, and like I said, I saw footage of a gas station for 4 hours earlier from one camera, that was it, I couldn't see anything. So for me to be up to speed and understand firsthand with what I don't know what it was, but in understanding, if there are known factors that drove an event from downtown Pittsburgh that brought them 10 miles, 3 dams, 11 bridges to Verona for a voting event, that warranted they have all the security they brought. If they were to come again, I don't know if they're going to feel that they need to have that presence again, or if it's necessary. So after having worked with Chief and our police from Sunday, is it warranted, do you think, that there needs to be security in our community if we are to have a police force that is here for that? Or if we know it's known that it's going to be something that's going to warrant that, what's the process for us to understand and communicate that so we know what to anticipate for a scheduled guest in our community?
If you want to bring in a private party and you're you're telling the chief that you're going to have your own security, and does the borough have the right to say, we'll use our security as police officers? I think that people are allowed to have their own security. I think the concern is the manner in which it took place, the ideology that was on their uniforms, their clothing, and letterheads and things of that nature. I'm trying to look at the Act 235 that Councilman Matlin just brought up, and it has to do with a certification to carry a lethal weapon, but I'm not sure what the act entails. Now, I'll find out more about that.
I guess my bigger question is if there was a known threat in other places, and we knew about the threat, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if there was a known threat that has made people feel uncomfortable to participate, the business is not to coast, and it's moved away. I'm just wondering if that's something that we should consider if there is going to be something else scheduled in the future. And I'm asking the question because I don't want to find myself that I have to answer something in the future that I didn't ask questions of now, because I think now is the time to ask them.
Well, we would have to investigate what was the threat, what's this security company, what is their background, then take it from there. And if we had to, then we would go to other agencies to, for information on that particular security company.
So I'd like to just jump in here too. Those are really good questions, Joey.
Sure
I'd like to consider them further. I don't know that we're going to have an answer to everything tonight, but I think that what it will lead to is further research into how to answer your questions and what will be our process in the future. But I'd like to move on with the agenda right now, and we can continue to look at this as the next few weeks go by.
And again, just questions I would defer to Alexander, he's a solicitor, he's gonna have resources. So I'm not expecting an answer in the moment, but more of the understanding of what we should look forward to should this happen in a week or in a month. If there's something that's similar, I don't think this will happen quite the same as it happened the first time. But so that we're clear as a council and you as mayor, so we're communicating on what's known and what.
Yep.
And also, one more remark I'd like to share on this, that I would like to ask that we consider the placement, the function, and the availability of the security cameras to be the highest priority. Because in looking at them today, there are a couple of them that are not installed. I understand there are 2 systems. I was fortunate to talk with our police department today. Again, thank you for their service that they do. It's not easy. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I've had to have their help recently a couple times, and I very much appreciate the support that they do. Our camera system allows for 16 cameras, and they will have a very good suggestion on where they should be placed, where they should not be placed, how they should be operated. They should be fully equipped with the cruiser with keys in it, with a full tank of gas, a belt full of resources, everything they need. And amongst their tools are these cameras. And I do understand, I've talked to people. Cameras do not stop something in the moment. Cameras help a week later when we're responsible to know what happened, what could have happened. It could have been a liability. Who swung first? Don't know. Who shot first? I don't know. Who broke the glass first? No one knows. We are, like I said, very fortunate that did not happen.
Yeah.
But for my request to have archived all camera footage from that evening from 2 until 5, and from all the cameras we had, I was staring at video for 4 hours. I don't think that's a fair response to what we have the ability to do and have available to us. And again, it's a resource. I don't want any of our officers in danger, and the cameras will be helpful.
Yeah,
I
so,
don't want to be asked questions where I don't know. I don't like answering.
right,
I don't know.
I get it, I
Not
got
having
it.
been here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Joey, I'd like to make a comment. You weren't on board at the time. We have the money for the cameras. I went out and I got a grant. It was $100,000 grant. They gave me 75,000. The money's here for the cameras. So we are going to get cameras, and they're going to include cameras on the streets. I put in for body cameras and all updated equipment in the office where the police are. That's all needed badly. So we just need to move on it. Money's here.
Yeah, the question is the implementation of the grant, and I think that can be one of our top priorities in the next several months of implementing that grant. But I think now that I'd like to move on with the agenda with Mayor Recupero, please.
Yes, Athletic Street in Vogel's Lane, there's a house on Athletic. When I was a young kid, the people moved in, it was a young couple. And you have to actually see it. I've notified Matt on that. Matt's on vacation, so he'll elaborate more the next meeting. And I think he talked to you, Craig, on that. There's a piece of property, it's 20 by 40 that's owned by the borough, and it's more or less a paper street. The borough has never, ever in 50 some years maintained it because it's probably from here to the wall and only 20 foot wide. The people, the Worthings that own the property adjacent to the borough property, they parked their cars there, they maintained it. They would like to, what would the word be? Basically take the property. They want to extend their driveway. They want to get it paved. And like I said, Matt will elaborate more on that when he comes back. I know he was talking to Craig. For the 150th street closing on September 18th, we're going to close from James Street all the way to Center Avenue, like we did for the car cruise. Just to let everybody know that, and if whoever, whatever department that is, if they want to notify the businesses along East Railroad Avenue, that would be great. Sooner than later, I guess. And the Wildwood sign placement, I talked to the gentleman that owns the Pittsburgh Pickle Company, and I can't remember his name, it's two brothers. I met them years ago when they first went into business. And right there at the corner, and I talked to Matt on that also, and I did email, you and I talked, Councilmember Trish and I talked about that, about putting a sign there, and he was going to talk to his brother. I haven't talked to the gentleman yet, since then. That was last week. I've been very busy with some other things going on, so there's a possibility we put a sign right there, right at 2nd Street and Wildwood Avenue on the Verona side. And also the circle at South Avenue and East Railroad Avenue right here. When we fixed this, when we put the, actually when we did the paving, when Larry Solly was here, the engineer, what we did was we put that circle in and they colored the asphalt and they stamped it and it looks like bricks. And I had asked Larry at the time the longevity of the paint to wear off. He really didn't know because it was a new product that it's been out maybe like 5 years. And but right now we probably had it going on 12 to 15 years down there when they did the revitalization, and it is starting to wear out the the paint. And I spoke to Matt on that, and he was gonna look into what materials that we could possibly repaint it with to make it look like the brick again. So once again, I'm sure he'll, we'll bring that back up at the next meeting. And last thing I have is the possibility of all the weather we're getting in the next 24 hours as far as flooding goes. We're going to monitor the rivers, Plum Creek, as far as the police department, street department. And I talked to Raymond, earlier today, if he could elaborate, as far as the readiness of the fire department, if he could elaborate on that, his report. And just everybody be aware, cellars starting to flood, your basements, and just keep an eye on the weather and watching the river. We will put a text out through the community texting. Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Just basically reminding people to be very vigilant of, the surroundings and what may occur. Hopefully we don't get nothing, but they're talking 2 to 3 inches of rain, and that's a lot of rain, and it's supposed to be very heavy overnight, which I'm sure everybody knows. And hopefully, we don't have too many problems. That's all I have at this time.
Dave, I have a question, please. I see we're closing the street on the 18th. On the
That's
19th
Saturday,
for
the
the
18th.
that's Saturday. Sunday, the 19th for the parade. Are we going to do any closings there?
Well, yeah, the whole back street will be closed, but there's no businesses open, on that.
Okay, what
yeah, for the
about coming
parade.
down Center? Cars going to be able to park on Center?
No, there'll be no parking on Center,
Okay.
Allegheny Road Boulevard, James Street, and East Railroad Avenue.
Good, thank you.
Excuse me, I believe Second Street's to be closed also.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yes, thank you, Vince. And Second Street.
We'll get all those details together.
Right.
Put them out, get the word out on Facebook and the website, the text and everything.
Right, we have 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sylvia, too, for the question.
You're welcome.
All right, so council committee reports are up next, and Mr. Warren, you are first up.
Thank you. I have a couple notes on here for First Street repairs and resident feedback. We did receive a number of comments from residents. I know that we were very busy. The borough engineer was working to get the job done. It's been ready for bids in April. We had a late start, but I know they hustled to get done by the time school started. We did receive a lot of notes and recommendations on feedback for the communication and how it goes to residents for a large project like that. I've been one of our residents on their porch and see firsthand some of the things they shared. I want everyone to know that we have taken note of everyone who shared those. I believe there might be some people in the public comment tonight that might share some of those. So we welcome those. I know Matt is considering those for the next big project we have. I talked to both crossing guards for day 2 of school. Both of them were very excited to see the upgrade to the pavement. I know there's some people on either side of that appreciate the cobblestone. Some people like the new pavement. Some people think it's slower, and some people, for different reasons. I didn't notice till share with you, but the idea that there were a lot of slips and falls and snow, sleet, and rain on the bricks, so we're hoping that alleviates that. We did not realize that. So for all the ways that people love and don't love the paved streets, I think it's a good compliment to the streets that painted. A lot of the upgrades to the curbs. So I want to thank Matt for his work on that and for kind of scrambling to get that together. And I do wish we had a better communication, but we will work towards making that better. Also observing that, the cross guards had noted that county hauling does pick up about 8 to 20 in the morning during school hours. I'd like to ask that we reach out to them and ask that they delay their pickups and not going down First Street during the time that people are crossing. I think 2 different times. So I think that's easy to do. And Christine, if you don't mind, as the first to do, I will work with you tomorrow. And we'll take a look at maybe offering that.
Sure thing.
One other thing to note is that after the paving, I know we are no longer dumping leaves at the end of the street. I'd like to make a recommendation that effective immediately, we stop all traffic going beyond the fire hydrant where it's just and First Street. And I can share a photo with council later, but if you stand under the power line, you can touch it with your fingers. And if County Hall or anyone else goes through a 3-point turn, which I saw last week, there is a chance to pull down the cable. So if we simply just stop that narrow, if we have temporary roadblocks, we stop that. But
Well, Matt, we could ask the street department.
Sure, but I just want to make that recommendation as a caution, so I don't know how we need to make this happen. We need to vote, and I think for matter of safety, we should consider stopping traffic lanes further to where.
You talking about the dead end part?
Yes. So residents can still get in and out, county hall can still back up, gentleman driving the truck said he could back up the problem, but I want to avoid pulling that. Is everyone okay for work with public works on that tomorrow? Arch Street Municipal Property Assessment. So I did last month say that I wanted to assess the footprint that we have at Arch Street, where we have our municipal building, formerly the salt shed. I know that currently within this year we're fine for salt. We have enough salt. But for future use, looking at capital campaign, I did want to note that I think there's better use for our footprint that I've been assessing. I've walked with AJ a couple of times. Take a look at what resources we have there, what can be scrapped, what can be realigned. And I'd like to offer up a couple of solutions in the next few months to the committee. And I'd like to discuss with Ray and Dave and see if there's some things that maybe you guys have insight on and share with the council. In saying that, it's not for sale. I know some people have discussed it like for sale. It's not for sale. I think it's a resource that we need to keep and hold and use as a property that's on the riverfront. So again, I'm thinking with current use, proposed use, and then just a couple things for capital in the next 5 years. Municipal lot footprint. I don't know if Mike was here. Let's go back to Rob. He offered to help us with everything that has to do with the class recycling. So I'm going to take him off. He's just on vacation and have some feedback from him as a former council person. He offered to help out with that. So I have nothing to report on the municipal footprint. Capital campaign feedback. I did talk to AJ a couple times, and again, thank you to the crew for all they've done for all the pieces to assess the equipment, facilities, and what their workload is. I know that through the assessment, I have a map here. I have 5 layers of maps of our community: water, sewer, roads, and also where we attend to. And I know it's not an easy job, and they are both responsive to where needed and proactive things. So just thank you to them. I'll be adding to the capital list of projects, thanks to the. And just want to say that rest assured the leaf removal and salt season, we should be good for the upcoming season. Christine, I know Ray helped to make an introduction from Oakmont to you, Oakmont, for what we do for sharing salt. So thanks to Ray for setting that up, and we'll just make an introduction in the next week or so and make sure that we know what salt we have available and what term we're using for this.
Okay, great, thank you. Next up is Mr. Matlin.
Thank you, Madam President. The first item, the only action item I have is we had to cut a check a few days before the wrestling event on the 20th for the borough share of the event fee of $1,500. So we took an email vote on that, and this is just to ratify that vote. So I'd like to make a motion to ratify the payment to Keystone State Wrestling Association for the wrestling event fee.
Any questions or comments or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now I just have a couple quick informational updates. I know this was brought up a couple meetings ago, that the street closure event permit. I'm still reviewing that and trying to incorporate some of the comments. I hope to discuss that with Mr. Runk here when time allows, and bring that back to council for a future finalization and approval. And Mr. Warren did mention the capital plan. I've shared some of the information with Mr. Runk, and through the committees, Mr. Warren and Mr. Suchovich and I have met a couple of times, since three of us are both on DPW and finance committees, to review both the upcoming budget and try to get some ideas and some notes down to help Mr. Runk in as she starts right here in the middle of, or in the beginning of budget season. So there's a rough draft that's in development. So we'll all be working together to get both the budget and the capital plan moved forward. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Next up is Mrs. Redzek Showalter.
Thank you, Madam President. The first item under my agenda for tonight is the welcome sign latest update, and I hope motion to approve moving forward with the project. So the updates include, first, a short update on the pledges. I'm happy to report that the Verona Chambers was a generous and enthusiastic supporter. They were first behind the Rotary Club to submit their pledges. So currently we have about 5 groups, and I don't anticipate that we'll have many more. So in response to some of the concerns about will we have too many logos, like 10 or more, don't anticipate that being the case. And actually all the pledges are less than 3K except for the Rotary. So I also anticipate we can probably manage consistency amongst the logos with regards to size. Additionally, I connected Jeff Pepper of the Rotary Club with the now semi-famous Patrick Wright of LTAP, and he was able to walk them through a request process through PennDOT for a setback exemption, which is fantastic. We are also informed that PennDOT has very specific recommendations with regards to the sign size relative to the size of the state road, as well as the font size. So the final rendering of the sign may have minor changes from what was presented. It will have a similar feel, but some of the things may be changed in accordance with PennDOT, pending approval of what we submitted regarding that. Are there any questions on that?
Are you talking about the sign itself or the size of the logos? Or if there's going to be logos? I'm confused.
So we applied for an exemption to the setback. So they could, they could say no, in which case we have to come back to the drawing board and talk about avenues that Matt suggested, such as moving it further back. This doesn't affect the one on Wildwood, which is not a state road, but in regards to 2 and Alameda for Boulevard. But we have every reason, they were very enthusiastic to believe that they would approve the project, but to help make that more likely, we will be adhering to all their guidance regarding things like the size of the font and of course the size of the sign. They don't have specific requirements regarding the logos because they actually don't allow for advertisements. So that is part of our request process for them, is to allow the logos. So PennDOT could still say, no, you cannot have that.
But so you're saying that's part of the package of the exemption?
Yeah.
Has to do with, will you allow logos or not?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I didn't understand. You were saying setback and I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that was one of the things.
Yeah,
Well, so
okay.
that's a lot. I apologize for not sending that ahead of time.
No, it's okay. It's...
Next, I did want to add that I know there were concerns about including the logos, but recognizing sponsors is a common recognition practice by the Rotary, and of course we are opening this just to the established organizations that are benefiting and part of the community and are consistent with our values. We also, after the last meeting, we decided to open it up for one more quick survey last, but hopefully, well, actually, hopefully last, we'll see, to get a little bit more feedback about the sign. So I will just share the results. We just shared it last week. We actually got 73 responses, which was great. So according to the responses, 78.9% of respondents are definitely in favor of going ahead with updating the signs and replacing them. Question 2 is if we can only replace them by including the new logo. We still have an overwhelming majority that would like to see that happen, even if it includes the logos, 55.6%. The last question about altering the tagline. So currently our signs have the tagline, proud of our heritage. It's been popular to say this year with all the sesquicentennial celebrations, the spots with more than a dot as a tagline, but actually the majority here supported having just established 1871 on the welcome sign. So we'd also like to modify that to that in keeping with the dominant public opinion on that. So I just want to add that I don't think there's a better way to honor Verona in our 150th year And also to save the borough the cost of eventually having to replace these older wooden signs. That by going forward with this project and really investing in our town's future and beautification efforts and all the good things that are going on currently. So I'd like to go ahead and make that motion that council will allow the Oakmont Verona Rotary Club to proceed with their fundraising, acquisition, and installation of the signs as proposed by the Rotary Club. I also want to make the note that this is with that modification in the tagline and also without any contributions, so we're not still asking DPW to do any of the installation. That was a lot, so I'm happy to repeat
Yes,
or clarify.
yes.
I do not. It would be similar, but just like I was saying, it cannot may require a font size to be adjusted.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
so I just wonder, I'm sorry, could you clarify again precisely what it is that we're voting on?
Yes, so we are voting as a council to allow the Oakmont Rotary Club to proceed forward with the project to the next phase. They were kind of pausing on collecting any money from the pledges as well as applying for the Rotary International Grant of $4,000 until they knew that council was in support of the project, that we weren't gonna, suddenly say, oh, we don't like this or we don't want this to happen. Again, this is pending, that PennDOT approves everything, so hopefully that addresses concerns regarding the state road and some of those features. So we're allowing the Oakmont Verona Rotary to proceed with the next phase of the project. As previously described, except with the modification to the tagline and without any contribution for installation.
And the next phase specifically is?
So they will submit the grant application and start collecting the pledge money.
The pledge, and was there something said last time about a GoFundMe page?
Yes, they will be setting up a GoFundMe, yes.
Okay, so is this with or without logos?
I'd like to propose it with logos because the logos do account for, we anticipate a little more than 9,000 at least. So about half of the necessary cost. Yes, hi. Did you want to add something?
I did. I've emailed with you, talked about my comments.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
For my comments to, as far as the logos to be sure the council.
Absolutely. Yep. It was recently brought to my attention that some of the organizations may not all align with the same and consistent values of one another or with the majority of the community, and certainly some of the things that were discussed tonight. So I will forward Janine's email to all council with that concern, and that will be addressed. Thank you.
Trish, can you refresh us which logos are going to be on which groups, or
yeah,
are there businesses going to be on the?
No. So
What a nonprofit.
yes, thank you. So the Rotary Club, Verona Chambers, the Garden Club, Lower Valley Athletic Foundation, and possibly the Moose. We still have more work to do.
Fraternal organizations or something, right?
We're saying nonprofit or service organization.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like your Moose, your Elks, your Eagles.
So I think the sign is a great idea, and I think it's a great. I think it's much needed because the existing signs are in rough shape. I do have some concerns about the process to, I appreciate the fundraising to make this a zero cost to the borough, to the taxpayers, and I greatly appreciate that. My concern is that we have a lot of great group, nonprofit or community groups in this borough, and a lot of them are struggling to raise money for the things, their mission, the things that they're focusing on. And I think it seemed to me like the process to raise money for this was, you know, who's the highest bidder as far as nonprofits and community groups. And I think there's some groups, especially the ones that are working towards the 150th celebration, that are putting all their resources, money towards that goal. And I think that's an honorable and important goal. And therefore they don't have money, you know, several $1,000s sitting around that can be donated towards a sign, which again, the sign is very much needed. I think the initial renderings looked great. I think, you know, getting a lot of public feedback. I am concerned about the comment about a certain group that a resident brought up. That I wasn't aware of until tonight. So I think it's a great project, and I think it's much needed. I have concerns about, you know, like I said, the way that the groups to be on the sign were selected, and how that process has played out.
I'd like to see a final rendering. I kind of feel in the middle that we're at the mercy of another group and another group. And you know, the ultimate decision, I think, would be here. I feel I'm new though, so maybe there were steps before me, but I feel like the project should have. Yeah, I want to see a final rendering. I want to see what's included. I don't want to have it depending on 3 other items. So at this point, I prefer to have more in front of me versus it being as ambiguous as it is. And whatever was mentioned tonight, I'm not aware of. I think simply put, I don't know what the survey results were in its entirety, but the function of the sign should be a welcome into our community. If it's the name, if it's the image, and it's the established, that's the function of the sign for me. And when you timestamp it with current or what might be past businesses or organizations, or, you know, then it gets a lot more difficult on maintenance and all the other pieces. So I would be in favor of something with the sign, but I also understand that there might have been fundraising efforts that were ahead of the project that maybe have been promised, but like I said, I don't know for the meeting, so I'm not sure what progress is made.
And I think that question to me is there a rendering that you would change your mind, that you would say no to? We are talking about relatively minor changes from the design that was shared previously with regard to altering of font size and what have you. So is there a rendering that you would have a problem with? Because I think the question is, can we move forward, or does council want a full stop on this?
I see a couple of different questions. First, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I mean, the sign update, like I said, you know, it's wonderful. People, you know, it is a way to honor the 50th anniversary. There's a number of ways, you know, to have the sign made, but I think in its simplest form, it's probably, in my opinion, the best. If it's established in 1871, and it has the name, and it has the mark, like, that is, you know, I think that's a welcome sign. When you logo it up and put things around it, no disrespect to anyone or multiple organizations, then it, you know, becomes another thing. And then when they change their logo, how do we update it? All these things, just a lot of questions are personal. But again, I just in general, I'd like to see the rendering before I go through it personally. I'd like to see what it is, not have 2 or 3 contingencies we're waiting on, but we're doing first.
Well, I have a question too, Trish. Is there any way that we could modify the motion to say, go ahead and start doing your GoFundMe page, but let's wait till we hear from PennDOT, because if PennDOT doesn't approve your exemption about the logos, then that becomes a non-issue. And then we could just, you know, I'm all for them raising money. I'm not sure how I feel about the logo. I hear what Dave is saying. It feels like, you know, some groups that are equally as important to the borough just don't have the money and can't get a logo. And so maybe we could wait for that. And I don't know that Mr. Pepper and the group and the Rotary and all that need our permission to make a GoFundMe page and collect money to help to fund the signs.
They very much feel that we do. So we will be waiting for PennDOT approval to do this. I want to make that clear. But they're not going to start fundraising on the borough's behalf if the borough is not vocally in support of this project. So we can discuss perhaps an alternative with the logos, but before they officially solicit for this project on behalf of the borough, they would like to know that council.
Well, I'm very much in agreement with the actual project. It's just some of the details that I'm questioning, and I'm unsure, but I don't have a firm thing one way or the other. Obviously, everybody's saying here, we need new signs. It's just, you know, I think I discussed with you before, it's like, it was one proposal about 6 months ago or 5 months ago, and it's a different proposal now. And I'm having a problem wrapping my head around the difference. So.
I did, Joey, bring up the latest rendering. So essentially it would look like this, but instead of proud of our heritage, say established 1871, or rather ESP period.
Yeah.
And then here is where we would have the logos on the lower bar. So again, there would be 4 or 5 here.
Possibly just in order for you to be able to move forward with the fundraising activities that is positive and you plan on doing. Is there any way to forego the logos and then on that bottom? Thank you for the support of our businesses and citizens. Which encompasses everyone who may not have the money to put forth a logo, but then again doesn't, like was brought up, doesn't add or lend to changing logos when a group changes their logo or something like that. Something that recognizes everyone in the community and everyone associated with the fundraising activity, but doesn't put a permanent stamp. Just put the website on that as well. I mean, pick a logo.
So
The only thing with maybe not having the logos is somebody's nonprofits might say, well, we're not getting our logos, we're not putting our, however much, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's my concern, but I like the spirit of.
But I think
the
Mr.
compliment.
Pepper's had a lot to do with that, right? Wasn't that
Right.
Mr. Pepper, right?
Right, yeah, as I had mentioned, I think I sent some photos to council previously, having the Rotary symbol on a welcome sign isn't something that's common. I'm sure many of you have visited other communities seeing that. But if that is something that council is more comfortable allowing to proceed, a more generalized statement thinking donors as opposed to logos, then that something I'm amenable to.
And maybe there could be a way that if it was the website included in that statement, people can go on the website and see who you know, thank you Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, or something like that.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know,
nice idea.
yeah.
So can you please clarify, so if this were to pass, I believe you said earlier that the group or the Rotary Club would begin to collect the donations, but you're saying that the GoFundMe won't occur, or like that they're saying, okay, so I guess if there's if there's concerns about the logos and there's details to be worked out with PennDOT, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to, I mean, I guess what's the plan if PennDOT rejects the logos altogether? What is there a contingency plan?
Logos altogether, we would focus on the Wildwood sign that doesn't require the same approval as the State Road, the third sign.
Okay. Even though, so then we might have different signs between Wildwood and the.
Not ideal. There would obviously be a lot more conversations in that case, but the conversation was very positive, and we have reasons to believe it will, but that's a good.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor right now, and there's been a lot of discussion. I am open to clarification as to what we should do right now with this motion. What's that?
If there's no further comment, then we would vote, right?
We can vote or rescind, depending on where you want to go with this.
There's still some numbers we haven't heard from. I don't know if you want to comment or we can vote.
Isn't this more or less to get this started?
Yeah.
but it sounds like the logo thing is part of the deal. I think I would vote for go ahead, do your GoFundMe page, get the sign, but I'm on the logo thing. I think is definitely a divided thing.
Well, and there's fresh concerns that were brought up tonight that I was not aware of regarding the logos, and I would,
Me too.
I feel like,
Yeah, I'm just that's my
Get everything on paper, and everybody can have a copy.
It's
Exactly,
very
click on
nebulous at this
exactly.
point, so if we get a rendering and whatever the email, so if we get, it's a workshop, so we discuss it, if there's something that we could consider for the next meeting, I can certainly know those things or. The rendering should be pretty easy. Unless it's timely that we have to do it tonight, but we just have the signs repainted in there from chamber. fresh painted radio.
One of them is repainted, the other one, he just cleaned, it's in good shape.
So for the moment, we still know where the drive-through is from the town.
Right.
But we could take a look. And I'd like to read whatever the email was. I'd like to see the rendering. I don't want to overpromise and it's going to put money for it and take money back, considering to choose rendering. So I would feel more comfortable. It's a true workshop, we have a further discussion, and consider those things that we discussed.
Yeah, so rather than voting and, right, exactly, we could just rescind the motion and entertain a motion in 2 weeks or whenever more information is obtained.
I guess I have the urgency if their Rotary International grant is due mid-September. I think they're that now. So
Well, I'm still unclear as to why they can't go ahead and get the grant, even if we haven't voted on the details, because I don't think there's anyone here that disagrees with having new signs. It's just how we're going to get them. So,
right,
I like, you know, we could say, yes, let's have the signs, but, you know, and have them go ahead and raise money. And just, the question is, new information, logos, a decision from PennDOT about certain things that it's hard to vote on things that aren't really established. That's all.
And they were just currently repainted, so we're looking at replacing something that's just correct. My, I feel rushed.
I agree.
What organization that this lady mentioned does not align with the value? Which organization specifically?
I didn't know until tonight that we were aligning values, because what are our values that we outline as a borough? So that language to me is kind of, I'm not sure what that means.
She has an email, I mean, that you should tell the public what organization she
I
disagrees
believe
with.
that it first should be discussed by the council members.
In my
Not
sense,
everyone has received an email apparently, and they need to have an opportunity to speak on it. But
Should that organization be able to come and defend
Okay, well, hold
themselves?
on, guys, this is for the, mayor and council to deliberate right now. There's a motion and a second on the floor, and now it's council's discussion period.
I'd just like to recommend that we rescind the motion that, in my opinion, I might be totally wrong, but the Rotary or whoever can go ahead and apply for their grant. Know that everybody wants new signs at some point. We need more detail and, you know, nailing down some facts. And then once those come in, then we can vote for specifics about it. But I see no reason that they can't raise money. You know, it's gonna happen. It's just how it's gonna happen. That's my opinion, you know.
Good thing, I just didn't appreciate the process.
Yeah.
So I don't feel comfortable saying yes to them, but I don't want to say no, so I prefer some time in the workshop to discuss it.
okay, that makes more sense. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not hearing no's up here because they weren't totally there. So I'm hearing yeses, but we want a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you need to officially rescind your motion.
Okay, in that case, I will rescind.
And Mr. Suchovich needs to.
I'll rescind also.
The second, yes,
And
thank
we will
you.
have
Latest rendering, PennDOT decisions, and, you know, whatever I said before. Okay, thank you. Getting late, what can I tell you? But it's earlier than usual.
I'm not gonna go into a ton of detail on my next item, which is just the update on the fee resolution schedule update. So, Dave, I was thinking about the, application and fee that you were working on for closing the street, because, as I was looking at those this weekend, I was thinking I wasn't sure what we would charge for that. So, so take your time, because I'm not ready with the resolution either, is what I'm saying. But I did get a chance to compare a couple from, comprehensive fee schedules from Harmer, as well as Ocon's, latest one that they actually just passed this month. And I did notice a few that we were missing that we can definitely add to our comprehensive fee schedule. For example, the parks that are not included for all of the parks. I also thought it would be good to look at the bed and breakfast ordinance, Airbnb ordinance. I'm not sure if there's a fee there. If anyone knows, let me know, but we can add that as well. Farmers market, and also looking at neighboring municipalities. I don't recommend having any food truck fee at this time. So I would recommend that we leave that out. So hopefully we'll have a more finalized version at our ordinance committee meeting that we can very soon sign off on. And that is all I have tonight. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, the next ordinance meeting is
Monday, September 20th.
Okay,
And
thanks.
also, you just reminded me when you said that I did want to just let everyone know that the Planning Commission held a meeting recently that President Parker and I were able to attend. That was last Thursday. And we will be having it the second Thursday. So that will be September 9th in Borough Chambers.
Okay. Thank you. That's a planning commission, and anybody interested in helping with the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next up, Mr. Suchovich, do you have any informational things you want to share with us?
Nothing on the police side. I've had no complaints or anything to me. The only thing I have is the potential for some heavy weather coming in, as everybody knows. The fire department, as far as we can be ready, we are. We checked all our pumps, checked all our hoses, and we're ready to roll if needed.
All right, great.
Remember, don't drive through standing water, stuff like that. I mean, you know, if you're needed, call 911 and we'll be there.
Thank you very much. Okay. Mrs. O'Albo.
Thank you, Madam President. The first thing on my agenda is the Cribs lighting agreement. Looking at it, there have been a few adjustments made. It was brought to my attention that there still may be a couple of issues. One with the installation of water lines or both sides, talking with RAA. They are fine with being that we do have a water resource at the pavilion, that if we have a hose that they could run from a field. That could be the water line for right now. I know past years was talked about actually putting a water line system, but they're okay with running a hose to the field if needed. So that could be, you know, they were fine with that. I know there's a couple other things that maybe that need a little bit more discussion maybe before I can bring this for approval tonight. That I do need to discuss a little bit more, but this brought up just a few questions. Are the lights accessible to anyone, or are they just for RA play football? No, they are accessible to, you know, groups like we had it for the rest of there's events going on in the evening, you know, for a sponsored event. Yes, it's for like will be used for that. So there's just a couple issues on here that I do want to go over with RAA and with our public works guys too. They have a few concerns. So I want to see if that's going to interfere with their duties and with RAA before we pass this up. So hopefully at our September 14th, we can pass this.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. The next meeting in Parks, sponsored by the Parks and Rec Board, is going to be Independence Day on September 10th. Weather permitting.
It's Independence Day?
Sorry, Moody?
I thought we played Independence Day on July 4th.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I heard that wrong. I put up a Christmas tree.
Oh, just seeing if we're still awake. It's earlier than usual, Janet. Okay.
All right, the wrestling event, I'd like to thank everybody that was involved. That was a wonderful day, starting off the day with the ribbon cutting. It was really nice having State Representative Tony Dillard come, and he gave a great speech as well with everybody involved. I'd like to special thank yous to the Lower Valley Flag Football and RAA and Matt Pitch too. I mean, he saw this project from the beginning to the end. He submitted that grant till the completion of this project. We still need a few things that still need to be done up there is the cameras. Hopefully they'll get installed very soon. So help with the thievery, bathrooms and things like that will be happening. And we had just a few little sketchings in the house on the day.
Yeah.
So it was a great day, and thanks to all. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask Janet, whenever you are able to get whatever changes might be made on this agreement, if you could send that to us as soon as possible, so people have time to review it and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Mrs. Provenza.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, everyone. Newsletter. Thank you. First item on the agenda, newsletter. The ads and the articles are due tomorrow, September 1st. We can give you maybe one day. If you're really pushing, we'll give you 2 more days, but we do want to get to the printer. So if you can please get your ads or articles in, we would really, really appreciate it. Number 2, Chamber of Commerce spoke with President Kevin and today, and he said the next event would be Saturday, October 30th for the Halloween parade, which will start at 11 a.m. Historical Society, our first meeting of the year is going to be on Thursday, September 16th, 7 p.m. here in our Borough Building. And our speaker is going to be Frank Santucci, local resident here. And his topic is the Verona that you never knew. And if you have any questions, feel free to call Rhoda, our director of the Historical Society, and she can be reached at 412-828-3607. Twin Borough Ministries, as Nancy alluded, we had a very successful dinner this past week, and thank everybody. Shirley said, please thank everybody for all the help that we put out. She was very, very appreciative. And next dinner is going to be on Wednesday, September 29th, and it will be hosted by the Oakmont Methodist Church. And the function, the dinner will be a grab and go, and it will be here at the Methodist Church again from 4:30 to 6:30. And our last item is ALOM, and spoke with them, and they asked that I please remind our council of the seminar coming up, which is entitled Government Benefits Advisory Seminar. And that's going to be on Friday, September 24th. It'll take place at the Cranberry Highland Clubhouse. Registration will be at 7:30 a.m. and education starts at 8:15 a.m. This seminar is going to be free to attend, and it'll include breakfast. It'll be over at lunchtime, they tell me. And the seminar is going to cover administration of benefits, which is pension, retirement plans, and health care. And to register, you have to call the ALOM office, which is 412-261-2526. I don't know if you have any questions or any comments. If you do, I'll be glad to answer them. And if not, this concludes my reports, and I thank you very much.
Sylvia, just one question on the Chamber of Commerce. Are they having their meeting on September 21st, the third Tuesday?
He did not give me a meeting date,
Yes, we are.
but I would
Okay.
say there would be a meeting.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to come to chamber meeting, it's here the third Tuesday of the month.
Right,
Yes.
my apologies, he forgot to mention that, but thank you, Nancy. So that would be on Thursday, Tuesday, September 21, 7 PM. He hasn't established a place yet, so it'll either be here or possibly at Intergroup.
Oh, okay, 7, because sometimes you big guys been having it at 6:30.
Well, you know what, I'll check.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
COG, Mr. Matlin.
There's no update there. COG does not meet in August.
Okay. Okay, at this time, council will hear comments on any public-related items. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you. Oh, yes, put that back. Thank you, Janet.
Hello again, Janine Herb Robinson, School Street here in Verona. I just wanted to make it known that in my statement, I emailed some photos, some information to the general address. I would just like to be sure that that is shared with each of the members of council. I don't know if that needs to be entered into record, but I just wanted to make sure it's official. There were questions about the Act 235 certification. I did include that information in the email I shared, but just to be clear, to be hired as an armed security guard in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you must have a clean criminal background record, and you must undergo a federal background check. You must also become Act 235 certified, which is the lethal weapons program training, which means a security officer can legally carry a sidearm while on duty. Follow that up with from the psp.pa.gov site. Lethal weapons training program. Training Act 235 provides certification to privately employed agents to carry a lethal weapon. A lethal weapon is any firearm, device, instrument, material, or any other substance that is capable of bringing about great bodily harm or death. The Lethal Arms Training Act incorporates education and training as part of being a certified agent. I would just like to make it clear that while council is considering what is appropriate as far as security for private events, whether it be in a building or outside on our streets, that these things are taken into consideration and that proper vetting and certification is done on our end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Janine. You have anybody else? Oh, okay. Vince and then Sherry. Okay.
Vince Blow, 323 Penn Street. July 27, 2012, me and Tim were ran over by a car on Alligator Boulevard. At the time, I asked the police and council to kindly look at the video footage to try to find out who hit us, because it was a hit run. Tim almost died. That was in 2012. I have brought this up bi-yearly since 2012. And as Joey said earlier, the cameras are still not sufficient. I want to know what it's going to take and how long it's going to take for this town to take it seriously and get cameras that work. Is someone going to have to die? Is armed people going to have to come into our town and shoot somebody and then we're not going to have video footage? It's July 27, 2012. It is 2021. We are still rehashing the same problem. And on another subject, the camera, or the signs, the welcome signs for Verona, this has been brought up for the last 8 months. We have had public opinion polls. We have had several different artist renderings. The deliberation on this should not have taken that long. Everybody on council should have been well informed about this if they had been paying attention to council meetings for the last 8 months. Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say, I appreciate what everybody have to say today, and I appreciate all the opinions here, but I just want to remind everybody, in 11 days, we are going to memorize the 9/11. I think we all remember where we're at. Last night, I watched American soldier leaving Afghanistan and leaving American citizens behind. Maybe 19 years ago, if these men showing up in Verona, our feelings would be very different. If you remember, in Afghanistan, these armed soldiers are hope for these people escaping Taliban. During 9/11, people armed are the ones rushing into the Twin Towers and patrol our streets. We were very united 20 years ago. And I don't blame anybody. This country is divided because the media is bought and paid for by the communist government anyway. So the important thing is divide this country so they can come in and take over. Let's not forget that we don't have an embassy right now in Afghanistan, but China and Russia does, and have $85 billion of our weapon that we left it there. So we have a lot more important things to be worrying about than what's happening in this little town and with some security guards. And I just hope those men, when if something do happen in this country, you might appreciate a few men carrying weapons coming to protect regular citizens.
Thank you, Sherry. Anybody else? Any hands? Oh, I see
Yeah.
hands.
Jessica Varone.
Hey, everybody, me again, 722 Bruno. I just wanted to comment on the sign. I love the idea of the sign, and we really need it because that sign's been kind of looking a little shabby for a while. I do have a worry about the logos, and yeah, I know partly it's because the community group has been putting all of our energy, like fundraising energy and money, into the 150th celebration because nobody else would really do it and fund it. And so I feel really bummed out that we won't be represented. And I feel like we are a big community asset. So putting the logos on the sign is sort of rubbing me the wrong way because of that. And I know, like, I don't know who all is going to be on the sign. And there's a lot of great groups that really work hard for the community, but don't really have a lot of money in reserves to pay for, you know, a logo to be represented there. And maybe with some more fundraising time, I know Vince just said like we knew about it for 8 months. I guess I felt a little caught off guard by the deadline to raise the money because it only seemed like it was a couple of months we would have to pull it together, and maybe next year we would be happy to help raise the money for the sign through the community group, but we feel disappointed that we wouldn't be able to be represented because we feel like we are such a big group in the community and we're doing so much, but we don't have that kind of money to put towards it. And it would be kind of a shame if we couldn't be a part of it, but that's all. So I'm sure there's a good compromise that we can all come to. Thanks.
Thanks, Jess. Anything? Oh, there we go. Okay, Kim, go ahead.
Hi, Kim Roller, Verona Hip Hop. I just wanted to bring up something, and Sherry, I respect your opinion, and I just feel and sorry for all the authorities that in your previous life, I feel busy. But what I am concerned about is something that we can affect right now in our own local community. And one of the things I think that I heard Joey bring up is that there were emails circulating Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday regarding the event. And it sounds like perhaps Sherry had asked questions and brought it to the attention of either council or mayor or the officers. I echo Janine, who brought it up earlier, that I would like some information and some clarification from the borough and all entities of the borough as to what exactly was discussed, requested, confirmed. And I would like that to be on public record or reviewed in one of the council meetings that we attend and understand where we came from and what we knew as a borough was going to be present. And I think I heard Joey loud and clear asking questions about if we knew that this event, well, again, I understand the event. I respect people who wanted to be at the event. I respect everybody's opinions as human beings. But if 2 other venues said that that event would be too dangerous for their businesses, why was it okay here? So that would be my concern, and I think that maybe you guys have some answers to that. And I think that if not today, in another council meeting, I would like some clarification.
Yeah, just like to clarify one thing. And you bring up good points. Everybody's bringing up good points. I don't want to discount anybody. But I think you said that there were emails going around prior to the event, and no, that some people, no, not before.
After the event.
Yeah, there's nothing, no email before that I received.
There were people that knew in advance on Tuesday, Wednesday that this is going to occur. I was not here Sunday or aware of it prior to myself, so I found out after.
But there was.
What I'm aware of, what I do know is what I've talked to the mayor about. What was provided from Sherry as a response that was forwarded to me, that was correct. And then I've asked to see neutral, unbiased footage within our camera system. So those are the pieces that were there. There's no email that I'm aware of, but I know that the group is going to make its way into.
I would just
for the
want
Sunday
to,
event.
I just want to know when it was done for that event, and you know, again, some clarification as to if it was deemed inappropriate or unsafe in other venues.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
how did we vet that that was appropriate?
See, you're asking who knew, what did they know, when did they know it?
Yes.
And we'll look into that.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? I don't see anything.
I like the Randy Sands. I've been listening to a lot of this tonight, and my wife is very passionate in the politics of this country because she came from a communist country. So she's very in love with, became a United States citizen. She's sworn to be loyal to the United States now. The thing I'm thinking is all this white supremacist stuff. If we look at the facts, my wife is Chinese. Okay, so there's no white supremacist thing going on right here. Plus, they were going to have this thing at another place. This extremist group tried to manipulate the whole deal. If we're intimidated by this kind of stuff, you know, there would be no United States right now. Because they weren't intimidated by the British. There's no reason to be intimidated right now. So all this stuff has been said tonight. The white supremacist stuff was malarkey. The hate group stuff was malarkey. If we can't get together and get our politics together without being intimidated, where would we be at? You know, I listened to it all night. Everybody was all fired up. Word just travels and spreads around like fire. No truth to it. There's no facts. These people came here to explain what they did. You wouldn't let them talk because of the Sunshine Act, but it really would have done us a lot of good to listen to these people and know where they're coming from. So let's dispel, I'm here to dispel this white supremacist crap and the hatred crap. It had nothing to do with it. And the thing is not to be intimidated and trying to do what other people are trying to make us do. And that's what she's talking about, the communists did. They did the same thing to people. They were Christians, they got run through the streets, and they're trying to manipulate everybody to think their way. It's not going to happen here in America. And if it does, let's hang it all up right now. I'm just really affected by what's been said tonight. I'm not a hate group. I'm not into white supremacy. You know, my wife's Chinese. Obviously, you know, I'm just here to tell you that it was all wrong tonight. Everybody just jumped on the bandwagon and just waved their own little flag to try and make us think it was one way or another. I'm here to tell you, there was no white supremacy going on. It was a political meeting on politics, just like anybody else has anywhere here in America has the right to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the truth.
Any other comments or questions? All right, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Mrs.
Second.
Provenza, second by Mr. Suchovich. Any questions or comments? No. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
What the money?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Don't
Dave, I gotta
leave.
go out to my truck. I'm gonna-
Oh, yeah.
Give this to Jess, please.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too. I hope
It's pretty ugly.
Yeah, 25, right? Thanks for getting the goods.
I walked out of Walmart with like 38 packets of buns. The whole thing was filled with buns.
Yeah.